ICC. It stands for Invoice Capture Center. Okay. ICC is now no longer being supported by the OpenText. Okay, so now they have completely removed this ICC, and they are not even supporting it. Few of the the organization might be still using ICC because they were into the older versions. So only the older versions are something basically which the organization can use this ICC. Otherwise, the ICC, if you're talking from the newer version of OpenText, then ICC is no more supportable. So ICC is now kind of a obsoleted thing. The second one is BCC. BCC stands for Business Capture Center. Okay, so BCC stands for the Business Capture Center. And the third tool basically which OpenText has given, which is the recent version, which we call it as IES. It stands for Information Extraction Services. And also we call it as IC4S. So somewhere you will also see it is IC4S. Okay, someone says it IC4S also. Okay, so these are the three different OpenText OCR products which OpenText has given so far. As I mentioned in the previous classes also, that OpenText provided OCR is an optional component. It is not like because this type of questions can also come because whenever you are going for an interview or anything, it is not a mandatory tool to have it. Most of the people just get confused. No, this is being provided by the OpenText, so we cannot integrate with the any other third-party OCR tool. We can integrate it. So this is an optional component. Okay. So these are the three different OpenText provided OCR products, and the recent version is the IES. Now let's go more in detail. Now, what is the difference between these things basically? Now, what happened and what was the drawback basically due to which this IES also comes into the picture? Okay. So basically, ICC and BCC, okay, both works based on vendor template training. Vendor invoice template training. Okay. ICC, now what is the meaning of vendor invoice template training? Now, for example, my vendor is sending one invoice copy, right? And that invoice copy, so where basically now, okay, before I jump to that particular thing, now can someone tell me what type of informations will be available on face of invoice? Which OCR should extract it?
Invoice number.
Code.
Invoice number, yes.
Date, invoice date.
Invoice date, correct.
Delivery note number.
ID.
Delivery note, yeah, might be like we can consider it. It's an optional kind of thing. Yeah.
PO number.
PO number. Vendor name.
VAT ID.
Correct. VAT ID. Or somewhere it is GST ID also.
Values, amount.
Total amount and currency.
Taxes.
Total amount. VAT amount. Right. So
currency should get.
yeah, there can be others also, but let's try to understand it. So this is the invoice number, invoice date, delivery note, PO number, vendor name. One important we missed it, company name. Okay. So these all the informations will mostly available on face of invoice, right? Vendor will send all those informations. Now here comes now here in ICC and BCC, basically what happens, the vendor is sending, let me just do one thing. Let me try to open one invoice. Just give me a minute. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Sanjit. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. So this is one of the sample invoice, for example. Okay. I know this is not in English, basically. This is in some other language. So here, for example, this is the invoice number. Okay, this is the invoice number. So this particular vendor, Capute. So this particular vendor sends the invoice number in this particular coordinate, like here. Like if you see here it is sending it. Okay. So when I'm saying the vendor template training or vendor invoice template training, then someone needs to train the sample of invoices, okay, and specify that this is where the invoice number is mentioned. So it is a one-to-one mapping. The team needs to do it. This was a part of the cutover activities and all. The functional consultant also do the same activity. At least they train some 50 odd invoices and all based on the contract whatever we agreed it. Then after that, this becomes the roles and responsibility of the AP processor to do it. Might be, I think we have Koteshwar. I think you might be, correct me if I am wrong. I think you are also taking care of the things, right?
Yeah, OCR we used to do.
Yeah, right. So so like the team needs to tell to the system that for this particular vendor, this is where the invoice number is mentioned. This is where the invoice date is mentioned. This is the one. Okay, like that. This is one of the manual activity which needs to be done. Now, for example, after 6 months, this particular vendor changes the layout. Okay. Now here, instead of putting the invoice number here, that particular vendor has shifted to this particular location. Now OCR will be confused here, because earlier it was being trained like from this particular coordinate I need to capture this information. Okay. Now since the vendor has changed the layout, so now again OCR will not read it automatically. Like then we might need to do some template training in the system. Now someone needs to do it manually again and tell to the system, no, the invoice number is from here, invoice date is from here. Like that someone needs to train it. Okay, this was one of the biggest drawback which I always feel it, because it requires a lot of manual efforts. I know, like it simplifies at least for those 6 months, or might be the vendor will not change the layouts and all, right? Like now, for example, if any new vendor also onboarded, right? So system will not learn. System, like we need to again tell to the system that this is where you need to capture the invoice number. This is where you need to capture the invoice date. This is where you need to capture the PO number and so on. Like that, we have to train it. So this was one of the biggest drawback which were there in ICC BCC. Now here comes the new OCR tool, which is the IES, which is having machine learning and artificial intelligence capability. Having machine learning and AI capability. Okay. Now, what does that mean? When I'm saying the machine learning and AI capability, I know like this terms and all, everything looks very fancy because nowadays everyone talks about the data science and this machine learning and AI capability, and this is somewhat the future future of all of us, right? And majority of the products or technologies are based on the machine learning and AI capability. Like lot of voice recognition and all, whatever it is there. So all things are the Alexa, like that. Basically, we have a lot of features available in the market, which is having machine learning and AI capability. This is what OpenText has bring as a new OCR tool, which is having the machine learning and AI capability. Now, basically, what happened, even though this particular, like for example, this is the one, the invoice date, and this is the invoice number, right? Sorry. This is the invoice number. Now, if this particular vendor changes the layout and start putting it here, system basically start in IES, system basically works based on the keyword dictionary. Now, what does that keyword dictionary means? The Fatura number, if you see here, this is the keyword dictionary. So wherever on face of invoice, the Fatura number is mentioned, system will understand it. Okay, this is my invoice number. Or Fatura Tirahi, like invoice date, which is, so like wherever this particular keyword is mentioned, that will be my invoice date. Okay, so machine learning and AI capability, which I'm talking about here, it basically works based on the keyword dictionary. So no need to do any such template training in the system. If any new vendor also gets onboarded, system tries to capture it based on the previous records of the keyword dictionary. It will just save the keyword dictionary in the backend automatically, and then it tries to capture the or it tries to capture the information which is available on face of invoice. Any questions, anyone on this? Okay. So this is one of the feature and like of IES. Okay. So which is the machine learning and AI capability. So it simplifies a lot of things, basically a lot of efforts, basically, which the team needs to put it. But yeah, again, as I mentioned that no tool can be 100%, right? So every tool is having certain drawbacks, certain limitations. So which and there should be some limitations, certain drawbacks, right? That is the reason why the organization or the OpenText as an organization comes up with the newer version and resolves the things in the newer versions, right? Because earlier, if you have seen the SAP journey, like R2 was there, then R3 came, then S4 came. So everything like it is just like step by step needs to be there, and then the newer version and all the things gets dissolved and all. Okay, so this is the main difference between ICC and BCC and IES. Now moving further to the different applications used in OCR product, OpenText OCR product. Okay, Now ICC, second one is BCC, and the third one is IES. Okay. Now let's try to understand the different applications. ICC basically, like the different application, when I'm saying like the modules, you can also consider it like SAP, right? SAP is one of the application where the Vim is installed and we process the invoices and all accordingly, right? Then we have a Vim. Then we have a OCR, or make it as a ICC customizing client. And another one is ICC validation client. Okay, so for ICC, these are the different applications or modules basically which is required to configure the things. Now, what SAP? Because SAP, SAP is the only one basically who, with the help of the batch jobs and all, we interact with the ICC, okay, or with the OCR. So this is the reason why SAP is there. And the information first always comes to the SAP, then it gets integrated to the Vim. The second one is a Vim. So Vim is always directly integrated with the things. The third one is the ICC customizing client. Now, what is this ICC customizing client and ICC validation client? We know about SAP and Vim. Now, what is this customizing client and validation client? Customizing client basically in ICC, we configure the things like what are the fields basically which OCR needs to extract it, like the company name, VAT amount, total amount, everything we configure it in the customizing client. Okay, because I need to tell to the system, right, that this is these are the fields basically which is required to capture it. Then also in the customizing client, we do the template training, which I was talking about this one, right? Works based on the vendor invoice template training, right? So this needs to be done in the customizing client only. Then the another one is the validation client. Validation client means this is the end user application. Okay, it is an end user application where the AP team or the validator validates the information which is being extracted by the OCR. And if any of the information is not being captured by the OCR, then what will happen? Like system will, the AP team will manually capture it accordingly. Okay, so these are the different. So ICC customizing client and ICC validation client both are the different applications. Now here comes the BCC. BCC again the same thing. But here it is a BCC customizing client and the BCC validation client. So the same activity in BCC also, we have a customizing client and we have a validation client. In customizing client, we are configuring what are the fields which is required, the size and all. So everything we will do it in customizing client. Now here comes the IES. In IES, there is no concept about the ICC customizing client in IES. So it is only the SAP, Vim and IES validation client. In SAP, they have come up with the business center concept here. Okay, now in IES, there is no BCC, the customizing client, then where we are going to do all those things, right? What are the fields required? What will be the like which data type it will be? What will be the length of that particular field? So these are the things basically which is not there in IES, but there should be some place, right, where we need to do this activity. So this is what the business center does. So OpenText has created one separate transaction code, okay, where we can configure all these activities, like which field needs to be captured and all, everything we can do it in that particular transaction code within SAP. So now there is no separate application called as a customizing client where we need to go and configure and customize the things accordingly. Any questions, anyone till now? No questions?
Yeah, Sanchit, you are saying about a T code which is created by OpenText. What is the T code, may I know?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Now let's talk about the business center. So to configure OCR fields and applications like this, the transaction code is /OTX/. If you remember, I in the initial time I mentioned that Vim transaction code always starts with /OPT, right? Everything starts with /OPT only, but the business center transaction code will start with /OTX. It is PF 00_IMG and to check the OCR status, the transaction code is /OTX/PF03_WP, and always, since it is
integration.
Sorry.
Is this integration part with OCR and SAP?
We will not say it as an integration part basically, because this is something is already available in SAP. This is a transaction code which we run it in SAP only. So when I was saying in the customizing client, right, tell me one thing, how my OCR comes to know that I need to capture these information, these fields. Okay, to tell to my OCR that these field needs to be captured, so that particular thing we do it in the business center, like for IES.
Okay. So integration part will be different, right? Between
integration
OCR
part, no, integration part is something, this is for the definition purpose, and integration is something like with the help of the batch job we just communicated, because this is everything is there in the SAP itself, okay, the server and all. So it is just like we need to whenever we want to change the status or moving the documents from Vim to the OCR, there is a separate program basically which we need to run it, or separate batch job which we need to run it every 3 minutes or something. I will discuss about it, what are those batch jobs and all, but just try to understand it, that to configure the fields and all in the system we need to in business center, this is the transaction code where we do this activity, and to monitor it where exactly my invoice is going and all. So this is the transaction code /OTX/PF03_WP. Okay, now before this I will just put /n and /n so that you guys don't confuse. So don't enter directly /o. Okay, you need to put the /n also before this. So this is all about the business center. Now ICC and BCC were having the IDH, which is the incoming document handler. Okay, and to check the OCR status and all in IDH, there was a separate transaction code /opt/vim_7ax8. Okay, so this is one of the SAP transaction code, because now what is this to check the OCR status whenever I'm saying this, because we need to understand it that when we also need to verify it, right, that whatever the invoices we are sending it to the OCR at what stage that particular invoices, right? So now what are the different types of status? Whenever I'm saying status, what are the different status? So status are like registered, then we have a sent for extraction, extraction completed. Okay, these are all the OCR status. Ready for validation. Then we have a validation completed. Then we have a inbound completed. Then we can have a error in IDF trigger job. Okay, these are the various OCR status which is available. So now what does that mean? Whenever the invoice has been sent to the OCR, the first status it shows as the registered status. It is being registered in the OCR. So that is the first status, which is the registered status. Then the second status is basically when the OCR, like the OCR validation client got the invoice copy. Now it is sent for the extraction, so that with the backend algorithms and all, system will capture the information or will extract those information which is available. Okay, so this is what we call it as a send for extraction. Then the third one is the extraction completed. So what does that mean? It means that the OCR has extracted those informations. Now the extraction is completed and now it is ready for the next stage. This activity basically will be done automatically, because extraction is something, who will do the extraction? OCR will extract it, right? It is not something the manual people will do the extraction and all. Correct? Then the next one is a ready for validation. Ready for validation means that now this particular invoice is ready for validation, like someone, AP team or the validator can go into the validation client and can validate it, because OCR has extracted it. Now the validator can go into the system, validate those information, and if something is not being captured by the OCR, the validator can validate it or can manually select it accordingly. Okay, so this is the meaning of the ready for validation. Now the next status is the validation completed. What does that mean? Sorry. Validation completed. Now what does that mean? Like the validator validates the information and submit from the validation client or validation tool. Whenever I'm saying validation tool and all, this is what I'm talking about. Okay.
IIS, right?
Or BCC validation client or ICC validation client. Okay, which is a end user application. So once the validation is completed, so now the status will be come as a validation completed. Then system will try to pass it to the where? To SAP, right? SAP and Vim. So because these are all the separate applications, so it will now try to send it to the Vim and it will map it to the Vim document, right? So that is something. If it is successfully moved, then the status will be changed to the inbound completed. Or else, if any issue comes, then it will be the error in IDF triggered job. So it will just stuck in the error. All these status basically which I am talking about. Okay, this is something basically which we can check it out in this particular transaction code. For Business Center, this is the transaction code where we can see that this my invoice basically which I have sent it to the OCR for the further process. So what is the status? Where is it stuck? So everything we can check it in this particular transaction code. The second one is the IDH, which is the incoming document handler. So like for ICC BCC, this is the transaction code basically which we can use it 7EX8, and this is something which the team can go and can check it out. What is the status of the invoice document? Any questions, anyone on the OCR status?